Welcome back to The Real Rejects. I'm Greg Alba.
I'm Greg Alba. I'm John.
Yeah, you're John. We're gonna watch today from new Rockstars, The Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker sighting. I'm Ron Burgundy. Grogu seeing stone scene. Okay, you get it? Yeah, you guys get where I'm going at with this. Let's see if their theory holds true as the episodes unfold. I'm always excited to check out some Eric Voss speaking at a whiplash pace.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and The Mandalorian Season 2 just reached out in its biggest way yet to the Star Wars Universe Network of Jedi, a link that many believe may have been made with Luke Skywalker. Since The Mandalorian is set 5 years or so after Return of the Jedi, we know Luke is alive somewhere in the galaxy, and thanks to Ahsoka Tano's guidance to track down other Jedi via the Tython Seeing Stone, that leaves very few other Jedi Grogu could have connected with. Yes, presumably Ezra Bridger is out there, Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order.
That would be the best.
Guy. But I'm gonna explain, based on what we know about Luke's history during this period and subtle clues in the recent Mandalorian episode, why a cameo by Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, might be the most likely scenario that I will never have to own up as a mistake. Let's remind ourselves where Luke is at this period. The Mandalorian is set in 9 ABY, about 5 years after the Battle of Endor, 4 years after the Empire's seemingly final rout in the Battle of Jakku. The New Republic has established a new government on Chandrila, and in this period, various X-Wing pilots now patrol the galaxy trying to establish New Republic footing in the Outer Rim worlds. They are worried about a growing threat there, though. But in the months between the Battle of Endor and the Battle of Jakku, Luke Skywalker was training his sister Leia as a Jedi. We saw this in a flashback in The Rise of Skywalker. But then, in 5 ABY, Leia gave birth to her son, Ben Solo, and her priorities shifted.
Oh, so Kylo's already born.
The present events of The Mandalorian. Luke is not yet in his exile in Notch 2. He's
right?
not even training Ben Solo yet. No new Jedi temple is being built. It's still too early for that. His training of Ben Solo would not begin until Ben was 10 in 15 ABY, 6 years from now. And then 6 years or so after that, Luke would fail to find Exegol with Lando. We saw that in The Rise of Skywalker 2. And then in 28 ABY is when Luke fights with Ben Solo and loses Ben to the First Order. And then Luke goes into exile on Notch 2. But back in 9 ABY, we know that Luke at this point is on a vast search for knowledge about the history of the Jedi and the Sith. He teams up with Lord Santeca, Max von Sydow's character from The Force Awakens. Santeca helps Luke piece
Damn, I gotta read these comics.
of the Jedi Order. Luke's journey takes him to Catalinta, as well as the Sith home world of
thought the shows were good enough.
the 8 Jedi texts.
Once you tackle one media, go to the next.
Swiped him first. Luke, during his search period, also finds the personal archives of Jedi Temple librarian Jocasta Nu and learns about Jedi masters like Mace Windu and Qui-Gon Jinn, as well as dark side warriors like Darth Bane, Darth Maul, Darth Tyrannus, and Inquisitors who hunted the Jedi during the Galactic Civil War. We also know from Battlefront 2 that Luke had previously found a compass in the Emperor's Observatory on Pelio, which is what helped him find his way to Ahch-To to begin with. The most important detail when it comes to Luke's link with Mandalorian is Luke's whole search for the first Jedi Temple. He was pretty obsessed with it. So during this period, he has learned about the Lothal Jedi Temple, and he obviously knows about Ahch-To, so presumably he would also know about this ancient temple on Tython. The Seeing Stone that Grogu uses has either already been visited by Luke Skywalker, or will soon be discovered by him, or was just discovered by Luke this episode. We might have seen it happen here. Okay, there's a very good chance
that would be cool.
Would have already found Tython, folks. Notice earlier in this episode that Mando's dashboard display on approach lists Orbesh text, which translates to region core. And we learned from that protocol droid teacher Star Map back in chapter 12 that the core worlds are the location of the New Republic's center of government. So Tython isn't one of those remote, hard to find worlds like Ahch-To is. Tython probably would have been one of the first stops on Luke's search. And then upon this Stonehenge Tython clifftop are some visual clues. The butterflies. These might be linked to a Darth Vader comic in which Vader visualizes himself in his mind's eye, a violent, gnarly form, except these blue glowing butterflies flapping about. Those represented the light side of the Force still in him, the new hope for that redemption that Luke in Return of the Jedi would inspire. So if those butterflies were the promise of Luke, they could be the same thing here on Tython.
Overcome that fear.
How do you not believe this one?
Overcome that fear, Grogu.
Even more closely, the beam blasts up from this ring of runes runes around the stone. These runes are written in the Old Tongue, the Sith language, but a language also used by ancient Jedi. They were on a Sith dagger in The Rise of Skywalker. Rebels animators put them on the Temple of Lothal and the runes of Malachor. But at the time, those runes didn't translate really to anything. They're just kind of like nonsense randomly put in there, and many of the symbols were backwards. They were put in inconsistently. This was before the production designers of The Mandalorian have been really good at making sure all the visual text translates into something, which you'll know if you watch my recent breakdown in chapter 14. I translated pretty much all of it. Unfortunately, those production designers and editors were also really good at making sure these runes are too faded, too weathered down, too out of focus to make out. Trust me, I spent hours trying to do this. There is not a single character that matches to the Urkatat alphabet.
That's so clever.
Parts of some letters.
They've been watching these.
Applying some in-universe
I love how they couldn't figure it out. It's so funny.
text could translate to the old Jedi code. There is no emotion, there is peace, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no chaos, there is harmony, there is no death, there is the Force. Just because those words were so important to the other ancient Jedi temple we know of, the Tree on Ashtu, which could be heard as whispers luring in Rey in The Last Jedi. Now, there was that kind of creepy detail with the Seeing Stone when Mando leaves to go down to confront Boba Fett at the base of the hill. Behind him, up in the hilltop, two figures are visible in the Ring of the Stones. Assuming one is Grogu, who is the other? Is it the tip of one of those other stones?
I was about to say.
No, the best suspect is Luke Skywalker. And even if that's not the shadow of Luke Skywalker there, Grogu talked to someone, and I assume that person is Luke Skywalker. Just because of the remaining Jedi alive in the galaxy, the only one known to be exploring.
I'm gonna get
Jedi
so hung up on that little detail.
All we know about Tython is Luke.
Yeah,
I'm
where would
not
that
saying
extra
Luke
rock
is
be?
physically standing on that hilltop, but we know from The Last Jedi.
Force projection.
That guy managed to project himself via the Force to remote locations. He did that from the Cliff Cave of Ashtu, sitting on a similar boulder. Maybe it's another.
Dude, this is so good.
To it, he could have still been there just on an earlier visit scouting it out. That remote projection is how I suspect we would see Luke Skywalker this season of The Mandalorian if that does indeed happen. Now, I don't think we're going to see a de-aged Mark Hamill, crystal clear resolution, but kind of creepy in that uncanny valley kind of way, joining all these characters in the same exact space. By the way, I also don't think we're going to see those fan pushes of Sebastian Stan to play a younger Luke. Because Sebastian Stan here on Disney Plus.
But damn, that looks good though.
For a second, I was like, wait a minute.
And not cannibalize the attention on one of their actors.
It does look like him.
wow,
How to put that together.
The blurry projection of a younger Luke that's flickering in and out of resolution, so we don't really focus on all the little VFX details. This could be something that he accomplishes before he perfected his Force projection resolution in The Last Jedi. That might be what that choppy audio filter from within the beacon was setting up.
Hey, snap out of it, kid. We gotta get out of here.
Or even more simply, folks, the voice of Mark Hamill could echo to us soon.
The sacred Jedi text.
Grogu the way Obi-Wan.
I love that that's a
spoke to
meme.
him. Either way, I have a feeling this season of The Mandalorian is going to reveal to us Luke Skywalker's exploration of the history of the Jedi by taking us someplace we have yet to go, inside the mind of the child. Ooh, hey, by the way, if you are interested in getting any of our great Mandalorian merch options,
Ah, shit, I gotta get that.
Today
Totally
is the
forgot
day
to buy
I
it.
would recommend purchasing it.
Why?
If you want it to be delivered by Christmas. Just because right now, as far as I know, no shipping company can really guarantee Christmas delivery. So if you want one of these things as a Christmas gift for a loved one, which I think they make great
Love
gifts,
one, me.
that notification bell. Follow me on Instagram at EABoss.
It should absolutely mean you.
Dude, that got me
That's
pumped.
very compelling.
That got me pumped.
That was, yeah.
That was so well put that I already believe it to be true. That's how good I thought this one was. There's just too many connecting dots. With new Rockstars, you know, like you always got they're theories, right? There's usually theories, and sometimes they're really right, and sometimes they're not. That's the thing with theory channels. I usually freak out once I'm like, oh my god, I think they've proved it.
Yeah, when it's really that compelling and you can see all the time. You can see every thread on the board coming to one little center point.
Yeah, and around the blue butterfly part was when I was like, oh, if that is not a visual indicator, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That alone. When the blue butterfly showed up, my mindset thought I'd seen them in Clone Wars before, and I think they are. I didn't know about the comics, obviously. And so to have it be the whole thing with Darth Vader, how it represents the light side in him, it just makes sense when you think about how interwoven this episode is, where in the last one you had Ahsoka Tano, who was Darth Vader's or Anakin Skywalker's apprentice. And then you go into this one, and then if you're alluding to Luke Skywalker in a sense with the butterflies, I think that's really cool. But then also tying it into The Last Jedi with the meditation on the rock being something that seems very similar. I don't know, man. And the whole thing with the force projection too that Luke did in Last Jedi, it's all there. I mean, I honestly think Eric Voss did it. I wouldn't want any other answer at this point. This is the way. This is the way.
Exactly. Because, I mean, partially too, it's like if this is such a rare and incredible creature anyway, to be sitting on this stone, to be generating this huge reaction, channeling out to any other Jedi in the universe, it seems like it would make the most sense, and it would be the most important to Luke, who had such a relationship with Yoda, just to even meet another one of his kin through that link. And yeah, it would make a lot of sense that he might not be there at that exact moment. Maybe he had to project there in a moment where they were alone or something like that to, you know, commune or whatever, kind of similar to the mental communication or whatever from the previous episode. But one thing this got me thinking of was, as the Mandalorian expands, you're thinking, okay, well, what's the bigger end game of the show? And then I started to think, if this is what they're going to do, I mean, they've already shown that they're good at bringing in both new things from the extended canon that we haven't seen in live action, but also honoring things from the classic films and whatnot. And it almost seems like the Mandalorian as a character would make a lot of sense to interact with or run into tangentially. Like, maybe that's going to be the ultimate point of this character, is to have him bump into various characters that we know and love on his journey with the child. That is kind of the new part of this. You know what I'm saying?
No, no, I get it. You use it as a way to kind of wrap up or link it in canonically to other characters, like how they've done with Boba Fett right now, like how they've done with Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, I get what you're getting at. To me, it just makes the most sense to have it be Luke Skywalker. I don't really know the timeline stuff as well. Like, if I think about it hard enough, I could probably I could link it in with the movies and what I've seen from the shows. At this point in the galaxy, there's not many Jedi left. It's like you got Ahsoka, who some people go back and forth, like, is she really a Jedi? No, she's not technically a Jedi. I think in the grand scheme of things, I would just call her Jedi. Why not? Even though she did leave the Jedi Order, I understand. But then you got Cal out there. But in terms of like the story of the Mandalorian, we already got Ahsoka. It would just make more sense. The one who was closest to Anakin Skywalker perhaps might find some type of force connection or something like that with Luke Skywalker in some variation. I'm sure she's maybe heard stories of him, right? So then to have it be Luke Skywalker would be the one to show up. He hasn't started training Ben Solo yet. He is on the mission. Everything they're talking about from Last Jedi and the missions that Luke Skywalker was doing, from like training Leia to going through Exegol, unless you like introduce a new Jedi or that Mace Windu theory comes true. Right now, when you're thinking about the movies and how much it's tying in, Luke Skywalker does make the most sense.
It feels the most spiritually sound, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how they pull it off. That is a big question. I don't think Mark Hamill wants to return, and it would be weird to see this de-aging on him. I think we'd just be way too aware that, it's definitely de-aging.
But Dave Filoni needs to fix everything one by one.
But that's actually part of my skepticism going forward, because when you look at how Clone Wars made the prequels better, a big part of that was the fact that George Lucas still was involved with Clone Wars. Here with the Disney sequels, that's what they are. They're the Disney sequels. And they didn't even run with George Lucas's ideas. And now these guys, Favreau and Filoni, who are very much about honoring the Lucas world, not the Disney sequel world, are now tying it into the Disney sequel world. I'm really wondering, was this part of the whole vision with the Mandalorian to begin with? Was this part of their discussions? Like, how can we mesh this show into the Disney sequels to make the Disney sequels feel more like canonically Star Wars importance or relevance? I always get a little tense when they cut to the sequel footage here. Yeah, I was like this feels like this shouldn't matter as much. You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the public opinion very much so. And the Mandalorian was developed at a time where they were just still dropping the last sequel, and now it's got to occupy a weird space where those do still exist, and at least for the moment haven't been retconned out of continuity. It's another one of those things where I hope the point of the show isn't to prop up those sequel stories, but I could definitely see how Justin doing this thing and I don't know, like you said, it makes spiritual sense that it would be Luke, and in that way, if they do happen to include him, it would probably at least lend some extra flesh, lend some credence to the journey of where he goes later if they do decide not to, again, wipe the sequels from existence.
I just don't want it to be that they were forced into having to tie it in.
Exactly. I don't want this to be like, we need to fix these, and we're going to use your show to do it.
I mean, right now, the way it's going is pretty neat and cool, and it's working for me. And I know there's more than the Disney sequels to tie it into, as they were like going through the comics and all this stuff, the books, the games, even like going through all those that I'm not as familiar with. I mean, we'll see. So far, I'm enjoying it. I love the idea of Luke Skywalker showing up, and I have faith, the utmost faith in what Filoni and Favreau can do storytelling wise to make this all feel like just a smooth journey, even if it does help complement the Disney sequels better, to make it more than just calling it the Disney sequels. You know?
Maybe all one. That's what I hope eventually the Star Wars universe becomes, is just one big universe where all the movies and everybody is just there, blemishes and better points.
I mean, we're there. We're almost there.
Give it 10 more years.
Yeah,
give it another film franchise to overshadow the sequels and make them look better, and then we'll be good.
All right, guys, Mandalorian, keep a lookout for Season 2, Episode 7 reaction coming this weekend. Subscribe to New Rockstars if you haven't done so already. Click the notification bell for us as well. Subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed our vid. Last but not least, JN Valente. I just want to say to JN Valente, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. I really appreciate the amount of support you've shown us these last couple of years. You've never left our side. Sometimes you might ghost us on some messages and then come back later to provide us with a lot of messages. Regardless, you've always stuck by our side. You've been a constant Christmas gift to us for years. You make Christmas all year round, you wacky son of a bitch. And I love that about you.
That's right. Getting a message from you is like a blizzard, a flurry of wonderful words, ideas, and visions of the world.
Yeah, try replying to it once in a while. You'll have a great time.
From the one or two I have replied to, it is always a treat. I tell you.
JN, you're a sweet son of a bee, and I'll always love you, man. And
Wish
I
I
hope
could
one
hug
day
you.
to meet you and see what it's like what you're like in person.
Yeah.
I want to see what you're like in messages. I can only imagine what you're like in person.
We should get a drink sometime and chat.
You're like a character out of an H.P. Lovecraft novel, just drunk and gone mad and
Just
wishing.
rambling in a corner.
Yeah,
And
like,
everyone's
what is this fish
Oh,
tale
no,
you're
don't,
telling
no,
me?
no, no, oh, no, you're listening to him now.
Don't listen to
Damn.
him. He's a town drunk.
But then, we'll walk away from that story with some kind of real lesson that'll haunt us for the rest of our lives. So, it'll be good.
Thank you, JN, for being you.